The Sports Source Saturday Kickoff is presented by Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville on Callahan Drive and by the Garza Law Firm.
Welcome into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. Happy to have you with us. I'm John Pennington, joined by Kevin Simon, joined by Ollie Lane. These two guys are both former VFLs. This guy's a former NFL scout, former coach. He's done it all. We are here at Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. Folks, I bought 5 vehicles in a row down here, so you know that I believe in Rusty Wallace Kia. The thing that's great about them is they will match any deal on any new Kia made to you anywhere in the country. So if you take a deal from Anchorage, Alaska, drive it here, they're going to beat it. So in other words, if you buy a Kia in the United States and it's not here, you're spending too much. Rusty Wallace Kia on Callahan Drive. All right, this segment of our show, we always start with something called What's the Story? On this open date, I want to ask you, Kevin Simon, what's the storyline for the first 4 weeks of the season? So many people came into the year saying, well, Nico this or defensive line that. What do you think the top story is for you 1 month in?
The story so far this season has to be the defensive line, just how dominant they've been, setting the table for what's to come, and pretty much everybody else has been able to eat. Rodney Garner, and Rodney we trust, getting guys like Elijah Simmons, Omar Norman Lott, Big O, Bryson Eason, Tyree West, James Pierce, Joshua Josephs, and the list goes on and on. I mean, we even see Jackson Moore coming in first play, boom, tackle for loss. Yeah. Jason Jenkins, played 5 snaps in the game. One of 12 players that got into the game, he gets the big sack. So, the first time that we saw this, or at least when I was a scout in the NFL.
This kind of depth, this kind of rotation.
This type of depth, this type of rotation on the defensive line. Seattle Seahawks, 2013, road to the Super Bowl. Guys like Cliff Averill, Brandon Mebane, Tony McDaniel, VFL, Cam Clemens coming off the edge, Bruce Irvin, a first-round pick. But they were the first ones to roll. They had an 8-man rotation, and all those guys played anywhere from 59% of the snaps to 41% of the snaps. It's a copycat league. So people in the NFL, like us with the Cowboys, we started rolling more people through. But to have the type of depth that Rodney Garner has, that Tim Bates can roll these guys out there, I mean, it's really kind of changed the game and changed the fortunes for the Vols.
Absolutely. I can't think of seeing it anywhere in college. I can't think of seeing anything like that.
12?
Yeah.
I mean, they played 12 guys in the Oklahoma game. I mean, that's nuts. Yeah. But I think some of the 6-year guys that you're able to have right now gives you the ability to have a little bit more depth. I'm not sure if we'll see this because most guys want to play, but you know what? The cream has rose to the top. The competition's made this whole group better.
Okay. As you can see, it's always busy down here at Rusty Wallace Kia. People buying cars. Get down here. Ollie, Kevin, I want you to take a look at something. This is from the locker room after the Oklahoma game last week.
It's just us being us, all right? And let's just keep making us a better version every single day. You guys got me?
Yes, sir.
All right. This thing, coming back to normal, was never about me. It was not. But I appreciate you all having a little extra for me. I do. I love you guys, and I really mean that.
Yeah, we love you. Go.
I know.
Yo. Hey, we did that for you, Coach. This game ball for you.
All right, clearly the guys love their coach. I mean, you want to go out and win for him. He was clearly emotional going back to his alma mater and getting that victory. Ollie, take us inside the program. Some coaches are disciplinarians, they're the drill sergeant. Some coaches are your pal, your buddy. Some coaches are the CEO, they're distant. Josh Heupel, explain that relationship that he has with his players, because clearly it's pretty good at this point.
Yeah, I mean, what fans see from clips and stuff like that we share on social media, I mean, it's true. I mean, Coach Heupel is a loving, fatherly figure for a lot of these players on this team. Now, he still takes a strong role as the CEO, provider, and takes care of all of the things that he needs to, but he does it in a way that earns the respect of the players. You know, he came in with the resume that wasn't fully there yet, knew he still had some stuff to prove, but he said, hey, I can't do this without the full buy-in from these players. And he came in and he earned that. He didn't write back to things that he's done in the past with different teams or anything like that. He focused clearly on what his goal and his mission was here, and he's brought us all in the fold. He makes everybody feel special and a part of the team that really takes it to a deeper level. I mean, you know, every team's got walk-ons and stuff, and he makes sure to make sure that they're still a valued part of this team, because he says it all the time, we're only as strong as our weakest player. So we got to make everybody else stronger. And, I mean, he does a good job of bringing that into the fold with everybody.
So often you see a school, and I don't think this time it seems to have just worked out this way, because you're talking about a different athletic director that made the hire here. But so often, defensive coach won't work out, they'll go get an offensive coach. Or they get a real hard ass the last time, and then they go out and get a lovey-dovey guy. He happened to follow a pretty the opposite style in Jeremy Pruitt. This guy leads with positive reinforcement and praise as opposed to constant denigration.
Yes, exactly. I mean, when you look at the difference between the two, I mean, Pruitt came in, he was like, hey, I'm a Saban guy. I've won a national championship. That should garner me the respect from you guys already. I mean, he came in, it's kind of like if you look at it based on coaching styles, he has that old 80s style SEC coaching. I'm going to get into you, I'm going to rip you a new one, and you're going to be a better player for it. A lot of athletes don't respond well to that anymore, and I think Heupel sees that, especially for him being a younger guy. He can relate more to him and understands more of what it's going to take to drive performance out of him. Pruitt expected the performance, while as Heupel fosters an environment to provide resources to get that performance out of them.
All right, very good. Appreciate you guys. When we come back, we have a ton of people covering the Vols today. We're going to cover all aspects. As a matter of fact, here's a few of them just to give you a taste of what's coming on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff.
I'm Paige Dower, and we'll tell you 3 reasons why we were wrong about this Tennessee team.
This is Jimmy Himes, and we're going to break down the SEC team's schedule and who has the best path to the college football playoff.
I'm Ryan Callahan, and I'll tell you about 3 linebackers Tennessee is still pursuing in the 2025 class.
And I'm Josh Ward, and we'll use prop bets to take a look at projections for the rest of the Tennessee football season.
It's kickoff time in Tennessee.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, and it's time for you to score the biggest deals of the season. You can get in the end zone with up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. And as always, every new Kia comes with Rusty's exclusive 200,000-mile warranty. So draw up the winning play and hurry in today to get up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
For 4 generations, A.G. Hines Company has been a pillar of the Knoxville community. And since Albert Hines Sr. opened our doors back in 1920, we've been supplying do-it-yourselfers with revolutionary products and tools. Manufactured stone is lighter, more cost-effective than traditional stone, featuring greater consistency of material and quicker installation times. Cutting-edge materials and tools at affordable prices. That's what we've provided for more than a century at A.G. Hines Company.
I was coming home and a lady hit me head on. It totaled my car, it fractured my right heel, and it bruised me up really badly. The Garza Law Firm, they were very compassionate, but yet they were very detailed. They didn't let me down. They never stopped fighting. It helped me regain confidence in law firms. I would definitely recommend the Garza Law Firm.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
A day on the lake is more than just time on the water. It's a memory, a story that can last a lifetime. And no one makes memories like Madisonville Marine. Terrific prices, first-class customer service, and the area's biggest selection of boats, like G3 John boats, Gator Tough. These rugged boats are durable and dependable, season after season. Center or side console, storage boxes. Custom design your boat for your needs. Madisonville Marine. There's no better place to buy a boat.
Chris Smith was once let down by an insurance company, so he became an agent to make sure someone is fighting for you. Shop insurance now. See how Chris can give you peace of mind and save you some money. All insurance is not equal. Trust Chris Smith Insurance.
Every Sunday morning, The Sports Source brings you 90 minutes of honest, intelligent Vols coverage. More analysts, more topics, more fun. The Sports Source, Sundays at 11 on WATE TV6 and WATE.com.
Welcome back into the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff here at Rusty Wallace Key on Callahan Drive. If you are going out to watch ball games today with your buddies and you're keeping it on Channel 6 because there's SEC games all day, what you need to do if you've got a designated driver and if you're 21 and up, head to your local package store and pick up a 4-pack or an 8-pack of Freshie. It's organic tequila mixed with seltzer, all in a ready-to-drink can, and it's getting great reviews online. Check it out for yourself, Freshie Organic Tequila Mixer. And we have it at the Bandit Light Bar, and that's where we're going right now with Paige Dower, Bob Hodge, Vince Ferrara, Dave Hooker for a segment we call The 3 Reasons.
Thanks, John. Our assignment this week is to give 3 reasons why maybe we over or underestimated this Tennessee team. I think if I have to look through maybe the first 4 games this season, obviously a little bit of that injury bug is kind of influencing my first answer, and it has to do with the offensive line. I maybe expected them to be a bit more productive, which seems kind of silly to say because they have been so productive up until this point, but I think when we look at the standard that Tennessee and Josh Heupel has, I think they've maybe under-delivered a little bit, and I think we saw most of that against Oklahoma, where they played their first team that was a similar caliber team. Obviously, Nico getting those 2 sacks, and I'm thinking a lot of that has to do with maybe some injuries and moving guys around up and down the line, but I maybe overestimated a touch just because we haven't really seen their true offensive line yet.
Yeah, I think the way the tackles played in that Oklahoma game, that was alarming.
Yeah.
So we've seen Dane Davis play pretty solid football. He's that number 6 offensive lineman for a reason because obviously he's versatile, but he's played pretty good ball. I remember Cole Kublik going into that Oklahoma game, did a video, and he was like, and he's high on Tennessee, and he says, look, most teams would be devastated by losing a starting tackle, but they have Dane Davis played a ton of football, and he has. So he felt good about it going in. Unfortunately, it wasn't Dane Davis' best game by any means, and Tennessee had to change their offense once they lost their other tackle. So I think that's fair, that we at least expected if they had to go to the bench, it maybe wouldn't have that kind of drop-off.
You know, you look at things overestimated, underestimated for a 4-0 football team like this.
Yeah.
And I'll just go ahead and throw out there, underestimated just about anything. But I think Paige is right.
Yeah.
I thought the offensive line could be a problem. I didn't think that they would perform against Oklahoma, their first real test, the way they did. You know, give Heupel credit. He adjusted to, okay, we're not going to be able to blow these guys off the ball. But, you know, when you have injuries and you have the drop-off that Tennessee seems to have, not from your 5 to your 6, but maybe from your 6 to your 7, just hope we don't get the number 8.
Yeah.
Well, that's roster. You know, I don't think anybody's blaming Dane Davis, particularly for having a bad game. He shouldn't be in that position. He's not equipped to be that type of player. And I would say the same thing for Larry Johnson, who's a sophomore right now, not ready. He stepped in for John Campbell Jr. at right tackle. You know, Lance Hurd is the question. Is he going to be ready to play? I don't think he's proven to anybody that he's an elite offensive tackle, but I think he would probably start against Dane Davis, and I think he would provide some depth there. I don't know that he's a superstar, but I thought from the get that this offensive line was paper thin, and that showed up in Norman.
Yeah, they're definitely going to want to address that as soon as they can, and I think this bye week.
What he has proven is he's one of your best 5.
Right? Yeah, I would agree with that. Yes, and I think what we've seen pretty quickly when you get to that second team, it gets pretty iffy.
Yeah, I think the most encouraging thing is Josh Heupel said earlier this week that they do expect Lance Hurd to be ready for the next game. Fayetteville, but
I think you said that last week too. Though.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe we're in the 11th hour right now. I got to take him at his word, but you hope that he comes back, and that kind of goes into maybe something that we all were talking about earlier. It's just like that's their rotation. Maybe they're rotating a bit more than we anticipated.
Yeah, I think the offensive line, the rotation was more in those blowouts. I think, and they really played, the backup tackles were the only reserves that they played in that game. Where I think we underestimated Tennessee is in how many players they have played this year. You know, we wondered about that wide receiver position. There's so much depth. But Josh Heupel and this offense, they have never really played a ton of wide receivers. It's a small rotation. Right. They played 7 against Oklahoma in an SEC road game. And they've played all of their scholarship wide receivers at some point or another. So Brew McCoy has, 150 some odd snaps this year. So, and they played a ton of players on defense. The backups are getting quality and meaningful snaps this year. And even in those blowouts, they went to their backups earlier. So I maybe underestimated maybe the advancement of using the depth. I had to kind of see it before I believed it, but this coaching staff has delivered in playing a lot of guys.
Well, you're right to wait and see on that, because that's one thing that coaches lie about all the time, and that they'll say in the preseason, we're going to play a bunch of guys because that keeps a bunch of guys happy.
Yeah.
And then you get into the season, you tighten up a little bit. But again, I think this speaks to Josh Heupel as a big picture coach.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't tighten up and keep the same 4 in there, especially on the defensive line. He constantly rotated guys into meaningful situations, Bob. And I think Josh Heupel showed as much of himself as a true head coach than anything that happened in 2022. And I thought that was obviously a pretty good show.
Well, and if we're talking about things overestimated, underestimated, I underestimated the entire team basically. But I want to go right to the defensive backs because, okay, felt pretty good about the linebackers. You know, even though Peely didn't play much last year, felt really good about the defensive line. Mm-hmm. But I thought flipping all your defensive backs the way you did from year to year, and it's like, oh, they'll be better. Well, they didn't play last year. And you brought in new guys from other places that didn't play with the guys that you had. So for that to be able to look as good as it has, for them to be able to run the way they do, to tackle the way they do, I think as I was underestimating the team as a whole, that's the biggest portion of the team I underestimated.
Yeah, and real quickly, what was the reason?
Well, I was just going to add that I think Jermod McCoy is special. I agree with Bob. I think the back end is very good, but I don't know how much they've been tested. So if they find a team that they can protect against, then we'll see. But I really like McCoy along your lines.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the whole defense is overall better. That's why it's maybe still taking some time nationally for people to maybe jump on board Tennessee, because who was talking about the defense? I mean, on the Sports Source poll last Sunday, everybody was praising the defense as the aspect of the team they trusted the most, and the offense was last. So that just shows you that the locals are buying in, but that wasn't the case before. I think all levels of that defense are better.
No, I agree, and I think Keenan Pili's a special player as well. Yeah. That's a lot of piece.
Yeah, those are good reasons for sure. When we come back, we'll have John, David, and Jimmy talking about the SEC playoff race.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville. You hear lots of offers with insane prices, unbelievable trade-in promotions, and crazy gimmicks, but aren't you tired of all that noise? Look, at Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, our message is simple. We'll beat any dealership's price on any new Kia, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, period. If you don't buy your new Kia on Callahan Drive, you'll pay too much. Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
Safety Systems, East Tennessee's top provider of home automation, security, and life safety systems.
Home and commercial security.
Camera surveillance systems specifically designed for your property. Professional monitoring, complete with emergency and after-hours response and repair. Burglar alarms for all access points. Upgrade your home or business with a single phone call to Safety Systems, East Tennessee's leader in home and commercial security systems for more than 20 years.
Whether you're watching the big game or your favorite movie, Games and Things is your ticket to the best seat in the house. It's time to get rid of that old, worn-out recliner and replace it with home theater seating from Games and Things. We offer the largest selection of quality seats at the best price in East Tennessee. With an endless variety of styles, configurations, and options, you are sure to find that perfect seat. Stop by Games and Things to upgrade your seats today at the corner of Kingston Pike and Lovell Road. Online at ourgameroom.com. Games and Things, 'cause life should be fun.
From family heirlooms to sports memorabilia, protect and showcase your treasures with custom frames and shadow boxes, each with a lifetime guarantee. Express Frame in the Common Shopping Center on North Peters Road.
So many people get their insurance through an app these days, but are you getting the best deal, the coverage you need? And when you really need that coverage, who's fighting for you? All insurance is not equal. Trust Chris Smith Insurance.
We are here in the Albert Lounge. I'm joined by David Ubben, Jimmy Himes. We're here to talk about the SEC Playoff Watch, which you usually handle so well on your own.
Thank you.
It's an open date, so we're going to all break into this one. I want to talk about some of the SEC teams that are in the top 15, and we'll put the graphic up now so people can see this. The Vols are still number 5 in the nation, but in this league, that makes you number 4 in the conference. But you see the top 15 teams here, there's 7 of them. That are in the SEC. You see their schedules. The teams in green that they have remaining on their schedules, those are teams in the top 10. The teams in yellow, those are ranked teams, 11 to 25. So you see that everybody's got plenty of room to stumble here. Interestingly, Tennessee only has 2 more ranked foes on their schedule. So you could argue your schedule might be easier than anyone else's. But I wanted to get your take very quickly on this. Things rarely go to chalk. There's plenty of room for chaos. Mm-hmm. Who has the best chance of avoiding turmoil when you look at these schedules, David?
I think for me, Texas really jumps out because, for one, I think Texas looks like they might be the best team in the country. And they've built their roster around the lines of scrimmage. They're really good on the offensive line. They've done a nice job, replacing Byron Murphy, replacing Devondre Sweat on the defensive line. That's how they beat up on Michigan. And so you look at them, Georgia's the only team they have left on their schedule that's in the top 15, and they get them in Austin. And Red River can get kind of weird, but Oklahoma did not look like a team that was ready to compete with the class of college football.
You've got A&M at the end of the year.
A&M might be another weird one. You're going into Kyle for what might be the most emotional game of the college football season. But if you're looking at who's got the best shot to run the table, I like Texas.
Jimmy?
I do too. And I think that by the time Texas plays Oklahoma, Oklahoma may not be in the top 25.
Yeah, that's possible.
And the same for A&M. Yeah. So I think Texas is road. Now, those are, you mentioned it kind of squirrely, because Oklahoma, that's a huge rivalry game. Texas A&M at the end of the year. We know there have been a lot of upsets in both of those series from Texas, but I think Texas is so good. What they did at Michigan really caught my attention. Mm-hmm. So I think it's Texas, followed by probably Missouri.
Okay, Missouri the easiest path, but they're down toward the bottom end of these teams, though, in my opinion.
Yes.
What we've seen so far. That doesn't mean they can't improve. That doesn't mean they didn't just have a couple of yawner games. Mm-hmm. But Missouri, your alma mater, doesn't look as strong as some of these other teams to me.
Yeah, I think you look at what they've done so far this year. If you're going to lose a random game, Missouri seems like the top of that list. They were a couple plays away at Boston College. Yeah. They needed overtime to beat Vandy and improve Vandy, but still – they're still wearing the V on their chest. We still know.
I don't see Texas going to overtime at Vanderbilt. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, Missouri was gifted with a pretty fortunate schedule that they can sit there and maybe go 10-2 without really having to be world beaters. But if they're going to trip up, and you look at these teams in the top 15, LSU may be right there with them, but Missouri more likely than a lot of these other teams to trip up and lose a game that you don't expect to a Kentucky, South Carolina, something like that.
Who has the most difficult run here? We're saying Texas and Missouri have the easiest run. Who's got the most difficult run? I mean, Alabama's got 5 teams that are still ranked there. Now, only Georgia and Tennessee are top 10, but you've got, Georgia's got a rough run with 4 teams all in the top 10. Mm-hmm. Who's got the toughest?
I think it's Georgia. I think all 4 of those teams that they're playing are legitimate top 5 caliber teams. And so because of that, I think that's the toughest run.
But they're the team that's probably, it's either them or Texas that's best built to withstand that run.
That's correct. But I just think that schedule, and you got a couple of them back-to-back, the Ole Miss in Tennessee. I think Georgia's got the toughest row. I do think they're one of the 2 best teams in the country, but I think that's going to be a really big challenge for them to beat all 4 of those top 5 caliber teams.
Yeah, you look at this schedule, and I think if you're talking about Tennessee and you split those Bama Georgia games, you're 11-1. You might get to Atlanta. I think there's an assumption from people that you're going to see Georgia there, or maybe you see Alabama there. Well, you look at that schedule with Georgia at Alabama, at Texas, at Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Very reasonable that Georgia is one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the country and still loses 2 of those games. If you're Tennessee and you split those and you end up in Atlanta, you might see Texas, you might see Alabama.
Well, and see, that's what was my next question was going to be this. If Tennessee, I mean, obviously they want to go undefeated. I think if you're doing the odds right now, they're probably going to lose 2 games, is what most people would look at. Alabama, your chances have gone up there at home, but still, I think going into the season, most people looked at those as 2 likely losses. So let's say that you split those, as you just did. You got 1 loss. You better off going to Atlanta, or would you be better off with somebody else going to Atlanta, taking a second loss, whereas you have 1 loss, you skate in? I mean, if you win, obviously you're going to be helping your chances. You're going to be SEC title. You're automatically in. But if you go and lose, does that hurt you? And I don't know how the committee is going to vote on that.
Yeah.
I would rather just dodge it altogether. If I've got 1 loss, let somebody else go take a loss in Atlanta. We'll just go in at 11-1 because ultimately all that matters is the playoff.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
There's a variable there because in the old days, the pollsters would hit you because pollsters, quite frankly, are not my favorite people to analyze college football in the world.
Right.
And the Bowls would hit you because, well, you're coming off a loss. There's fan excitement factored into this. It's a money decision, so you get bumped down that bowl pecking order. But I still think if you're in the playoff, if you can't get one of those buys, and even if you get one of those buys, if you're the 1 seed, that 5 spot is probably the best spot you can possibly be in the college football playoff because you get a home game against the G5 champion that's probably not going to be a world beater. And then you're going to go and play at a neutral site against the worst of the Power 5 conference champions. That might be a 9-3 ACC. You might be playing Louisville in the playoff, and all you got to do is beat them and get to the semis. So if you win the SEC championship, and you get that 1 seed, that'd be nice.
Yeah, clearly.
But I think you got a pretty good shot if you don't go to Atlanta of holding that 5 spot. But what the committee does with the loser, I think depends on how you lose that game too. If it's an overtime game, they're not going to penalize you.
Yeah, so do you even want to play Texas if that's who's there?
Well, if it's a guaranteed loss, probably not. But at this point, the way Tennessee's playing, you might win it.
I know there are people out there, you play to win the games. You want to go, you want to do it. Hey, I'm just looking at it practically.
Yeah.
I mean, you got schools right now that are saying, well, we could schedule better and look better, but we can skate our way in. If Tennessee's scheduling that way, then what's the difference in saying, I'd rather duck that championship and get to the playoff? Same way you're ducking better teams at the beginning of the season in scheduling. What would you do, Jimmy? Would you rather dodge Atlanta or get there?
I'd rather dodge Atlanta. I'd rather have 1 loss and not have to go to Atlanta. And part of my thinking is this. What matters now is the college football playoff, right? You're asking college football players to play more games than they have ever played before. So if you play 1 more emotional, big, tough opponent, you're more likely to perhaps waste some emotion or have an injury along the way.
Great point.
So I would rather save it because, again, you're playing more games than ever. Some teams may have to play, 16 games? So I would just soon take my 1 loss and go to the playoff instead of the SEC.
Yeah, so the week to heal up, too. The December 20th games, instead of 2 weeks to heal up after the championship, we get 3. It's a nice little bonus.
Very good. David Evans, Jimmy Himes, thanks to both of you. When we come back, Kevin Simon, Ollie Lane, they're going to be talking about Josh Heupel's growth as a coach. Come on back on the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff.
A day on the lake is more than just time on the water. It's a memory, a story that can last a lifetime. And no one makes memories like Madisonville Marine. Terrific prices, first-class customer service, and the area's biggest selection of boats, like Hurricane deck boats. Perfecting fun on the water for more than 45 years with innovative and incredibly versatile designs. Experience freedom, laughter, and adventure on the water with Hurricane. Madisonville Marine. There's no better place to buy a boat.
I see Marcos grow in the community as somebody that people can look up to.
Marcos Garza is very thoughtful. He pays attention to the needs of the people in the community.
He's somebody that's very unselfish, somebody that's going to always be there.
Marcos Garza will work as hard as he can to get the best results for you.
In the future, no matter where I'm playing, no matter what the team I'm playing for, I'll always be on Garza's team.
The Garza Law Firm is Mama Zizi approved.
The Garza Law Firm. Let us help.
It's kickoff time in Tennessee.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Key of Knoxville, and it's time for you to score the biggest deals of the season. You can get in the end zone with up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. And as always, every new Kia comes with Rusty's exclusive 200,000-mile warranty. So draw up the winning play and hurry in today to get up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. Rusty Wallace Key of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
Three Tennessee recruits to watch. With the Vols currently enjoying an open date, they are still pursuing some additional players in the 2025 class, looking to fill needs at a few different positions. We're going to focus on the linebacker position, where Tennessee would still like to add another player to go along with current commitments, Jaden Harmon and Christian Gass. A couple in-state guys that Tennessee is still recruiting, but one out-of-state, Jaden Perlotti, if that name sounds familiar. He was a big-time Tennessee target, former Georgia commitment, now committed to USC. Tennessee looked to be in position to flip him this summer, and then USC kind of swooped in, got him on a visit in late July, and he committed to the Trojans coming off that visit. Well, Tennessee hasn't completely given up there, still pursuing him from the Atlanta area, Buford High School. So Tennessee's still in the mix for him. We'll see where it goes this season, but certainly one of the guys Tennessee is still recruiting at the linebacker position. A couple in-state guys, Austin Howard out of Bartlett High School in the Memphis area. Tennessee was pursuing him back in the summer when he was originally committed to Vanderbilt. He's now committed to Mississippi State. He's been committed there since June, but Tennessee has not given up there. He was originally planning to take an official visit to Knoxville in June. That visit didn't happen, though, before he flipped for the Bulldogs. So Tennessee is staying in communication there. We'll see, again, if they can get him on campus sometime this season, but he's one of the guys Tennessee has been recruiting for a while. And then another in-state target, Brendan Ains, committed to Wisconsin out of Page High School in Franklin. Another one Tennessee's been recruiting for a little while. This one's kind of been off and on. It looked like in the summer there was some interest there on both sides. Didn't really go anywhere at the time. Now Tennessee taking a harder look at him as he goes through his senior season. Tennessee definitely would like to add another linebacker, though, and those are three names to certainly watch going forward. John, back to you.
Thanks, Ryan. This segment brought to you by the Garza Law Firm. Folks, I look around on television, I see so many attorneys that do advertisements, and I'm like, you're not in Knoxville. Where are you? And I'll look it up, and they're in Birmingham or they're in Memphis. They want you to think they're here. They're not. If you find yourself in a legal bind, let me tell you what your game plan should be. Call Garza Law. Get yourself a local attorney, and there's no better local law firm than the Garza Law Firm. Look them up online, garzalaw.com. Speaking of game plans, this segment is called What's the Game Plan? Well, it's an open date, so we don't have one game plan to talk about for today, but I still want to keep it in that vein because it seems to me that this year more than any others, we are finding that Josh Heupel has more than one game plan. When he got here, here was a former quarterback, an offensive guru. He runs a cool system. That was kind of the positive and the knock that you heard from around the country. You talk to people like, well, it's not his system. He learned it from somebody else, blah, blah, blah. What we've seen these last month, these last 4 games, here's a guy that after being in 11 personnel for the most part for 3 years, suddenly he's in 12 personnel because that's going to help him beat NC State. He goes to Oklahoma and he says, most of these offensive guys, you know this, it's like when push comes to shove, they're going to trust their offense. He looked at it and said, my offensive line's beaten up. We're turning the ball over when they're getting to Nico. We're riding with our defense. To me, these are great signs. Kevin, to me, that growth in Josh Heupel, to me, that's the difference. A game plan coach, a do-what-you-do coach, 2 different things. One has a ceiling. One can get sky high. Give me the guy who can do a game plan that's different week to week.
Yeah, I think we're seeing an evolution in terms of philosophy of how to win games. And, we talk about on here, hey, styles win fights. Yeah. Well, when you have the number 1 defense in the country by total yards at 176, when you got the number 2 defense in the country on third down at 17%, and you got the number 2 defense in the country against the run at 50 yards per game, you know what? Let me lean on these guys, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all. What did Herman Edwards say? You play to win the game. So you play to win the game. Like you said, last year, it wasn't until Texas A&M, and you might be able to jump in on this, that we saw you guys go last season, go a little bit more 7 personnel to try to protect it because Texas A&M's front was good. Yeah. And so there was some tweaks then, but until that time, first 6 games, we just kind of did what we did. Very refreshing to see them. It seems like the self-scout has led them to the 12 personnel package, using what you got in the tight ends against NC State, and then just a situation. You're down to your 3rd and 4th tackles. All right, well, how are we going to overcome it? Nico's been hit, 4 sacks, strip sack fumbles a couple times. Hey, we're going to run this football on them to the tune of 151 yards. What we average like
2.9. Yeah,
2.9 yeah. So, but it won the game. It wasn't about the tempo. It was about winning the game. I loved every second of it.
I did too. And you've also seen adjustments that they're making at halftime as well. So it's not just we go in with a different game plan. It's in game, as you just say, with what we're doing when we get some guys banged up. But you're seeing the halftime adjustments. They just seem like they're really developing into a different type of coaching staff to where it's not just one size fits all. This is what we do. And there are a lot of those guys around. And you can win a title doing that. I just don't think you stay at the forefront for long if you're just that kind of coach. Ollie, in terms of being over there, you've told me a number of times these guys are schemers. Okay. Give me an example. Schemer.
Yeah, so I mean, basically what they do is they take what we have. Obviously, every offense is going to have bread and butter plays. This is what we run. But they take and they do their self-scout. They break down the film and they say, oh, here's some holes, here's some weaknesses in this defense. We're going to adjust our play calling to that to make it more successful. If that's the blocking scheme, the route running, anything like that, the operations that Nico's going through, they change it day in and day out. Same plays don't always have the same rules every week because it adjusts based on what they're seeing on film. I mean, we've done it a lot, especially in the past, like going to Missouri or going to some of these other competitions, big games that we go against. They pull out all the stops to try to find ways to mess with their defensive fronts to get us the best success. And I think it shows a lot. Because, I mean, each week they're running, yes, it still looks very similar, but it's different options, different schemes, different areas which they could attack. If you look at the NC State game, they had that zero pressure blitz. Well, we schemed for it, waited for oh, here they come, bring it out. Now we gave everybody in the country a play to run against that front every time they see it and took that whole opportunity from NC State to surprise us as zero blitz. Well, we were ready for it, and we pulled it out when it needed to be.
I wonder how much, Kevin, when you look at last year, because this is the first part of the season, you referenced it, they tried to use Joe Milton the same way they'd used Hendon Hooker, for the most part, outside looking in. Then they realized we got to change some things up with this guy. Nico's not a fully formed quarterback yet. He started 5 games. He can't do everything they need him to do. I wonder how much last year's experience with Joe Milton, okay, we can't just plug any old guy in here, how much that experience has helped them this year with Nico. I wonder if last year was a learning experience that has helped them get to this point where, okay, we got to find, if they take away my jab, I got to have a Hail Mary punch.
Yeah, well, we got to have the hook. You got to get the straight right going. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I think last year was a lesson learned. Just, you know what, hey, we may have to do it a little different at times. So it's led them to this point. I was fascinated to see the back and forth between Venables and Heupel, the in-game adjustments. Because Venables, he knows the rules, right? Levy,
he's practiced against it. He's got it.
Exactly. So he knew the rules to it. That's where they would have 2 safeties high and show a light box, sprint them both down into the box. They'd show a heavy box, sprint them out of the box. That's 3 and outs in the first 3 series of the game. All right. Well, how are we going to adjust? I believe it's 2nd and 7 when we hit the 66-yarder to Dante Thornton. Yeah. Had them both high, sprint them down the box because that's a typical rundown for this offense and caught them in what amounts to really being zero coverage. Corner wasn't inside enough, wasn't fast enough. Nico threw that thing. He couldn't handle the ball better than that guy, to Dante Thornton. But that was the cat and mouse game that I was interested in seeing. they won out there, but it was the in-game adjustments that led them to be able to hit that quick strike to Dante Thornton.
Yeah, and I'm not, if you do a Venn diagram, here are the coaches who do what they do, here are the coaches who can adjust on the fly. The guys who adjust and can change the way they do things, those are the ones who achieve multiple titles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that's going to be Josh Heupel, but there's something, if you look at a guy like Spurrier, who was all pass happy, goes to South Carolina, the league has changed. He can't be pass happy anymore. He doesn't have the horses to do it. Okay, I'll go to the SEC championship game running a zone read. That's a great coach.
Yeah.
That's a guy, I can take it this way and beat you, I can take it that way and beat you.
Mm-hmm.
If Josh Heupel's showing me signs of being that guy, that's a positive. That's a big positive. All right, up next, we got some prop bets to help break down the rest of the Vols season. Come join the wise guys when we come back.
Whether you're watching the big game or your favorite movie, Games and Things is your ticket to the best seat in the house. It's time to get rid of that old, worn-out recliner and replace it with home theater seating from Games and Things. We offer the largest selection of quality seats at the best price in East Tennessee. With an endless variety of styles, configurations, and options, you are sure to find that perfect seat. Stop by Games and Things to upgrade your seats today at the corner of Kingston Pike and Lovell Road. Online at ourgameroom.com. Games and Things, 'cause life should be fun.
Safety Systems, East Tennessee's top provider of home automation, security, and life safety systems.
Home automation.
Our expert technicians can turn your home into a smart home, allowing you to control and monitor everything from lighting and climate to entertainment systems, security systems, and even appliances, all from your phone or tablet. Upgrade your home with a single phone call to Safety Systems, East Tennessee's leader in home automation for more than 20 years.
Chris Smith was once let down by an insurance company, so he became an agent to make sure someone is fighting for you. Shop insurance now. See how Chris can give you peace of mind and save you some money. All insurance is not equal. Trust Chris Smith Insurance.
From works of art to family photos, enhance the beauty and protect your memories with custom frames, museum-quality glass, and guaranteed craftsmanship. Express Frame in the Common Shopping Center on North Peters Road.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Key of Knoxville. You hear lots of offers with insane prices, unbelievable trade-in promotions, and crazy gimmicks. But aren't you tired of all that noise? Look, at Rusty Wallace Key of Knoxville, our message is simple. We'll beat any dealership's price on any new Kia, no matter who they are, no matter where they are, period. If you don't buy your new Kia on Callahan Drive, you'll pay too much. Rusty Wallace Key of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
Welcome back to the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. This segment of our program is brought to you by Games and Things. Folks, if you want to make your house the envy of the neighborhood, then you need to get to Games and Things. They can turn it into an absolute fun house for all the neighborhood adults and neighborhood kids. They got pool tables. They got poker tables. They've got ping pong tables. If you don't want tables, they got dartboards, boss toss. They've even got Pop-A-Shot with a Tennessee branded that basketball game, Tennessee logo, orange, the whole 9 yards. I know because we've got one in the Games and Things arena. That's where we go now. Josh Ward, Tyler Ivins, Chuck Cavaleris, and Will West for a segment we call The Wise Guys.
Thanks, Sean. All right, guys, we have some prop bets for the rest of the season as the Vols are off this weekend. I'll start us off and see what we have here. All right, Tennessee's off to a good offensive start. They went over 50 points 6 times in 2022 when they led the nation in scoring. They scored 50 in each of the first 3 games. Will UT reach 56 or more times this season? They have 3 so far. Tyler Ivins.
UTEP 4, Mississippi State maybe 5. You're not getting Kentucky. You're not getting Bama. You're not getting Vandy. No. That's so tempting. No.
I'm going to say no just because of the defense Tennessee has now. And I think they're more inclined to rely on that.
Yeah, no. Tennessee's played 2 teams with a pulse. Both of them, Josh Heupel, had an incredibly conservative game plan. Yeah, I think you can win defensively running the football. I don't think they get there this year because they don't have to.
Yeah, I think the defense can help them score against UTEP and, well, pretty much anybody the rest of the way. So I will say yes. I'll say they get it done 3 times out of the next 8 if they did it 3 in the first 3.
Mr. Positive, Josh Ward.
Yeah, that's why I sat next to him this morning. Ole Miss is averaging 55 points per game. Tennessee 1 behind. So, gentlemen, I ask you, at the season's end, who's going to average more? Lane in Oxford? Kiffin? Beg your pardon. Or Heupel here on Rocky Top?
Well, I think it's going to be more important to Lane Kiffin, right? I mean, they're going to want to score. So I'm going to go and say Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart is the main reasons why.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think it'll be Ole Miss. One, they don't have a defense. Tennessee does. They have to outscore people. Tennessee can beat you multiple ways. Ole Miss will have a higher scoring average than Tennessee this year.
Am I hedging? Because I've already said I think Tennessee scores 50 or more 3 more times this season. I do think getting Jackson Dart to New York is a priority for Lane Kiffin in the Heisman ceremony. Their schedule's comfortable in the SEC. I'll say Ole Miss edges out Tennessee. I think it'll be a good race.
Josh had the nugget for me right there. He's had quarterbacks before in Oxford that should have gotten to New York, and they didn't. This is a box he wants to check.
Yeah.
Plus, I think that they found more explosive players in the transfer portal in the MAC and otherwhere Lane Kiffin did at Ole Miss than what Tennessee did.
Good point.
Chuck, what do you have there?
Dylan Sampson has 10 rushing touchdowns. Will he break Gene McKeever's UT record of 18 set in 1929?
1929, the good old days. Chuck and I remember
Yeah,
those.
we remember those games.
I think he does. I think he could even have 20 this year. Part of it is I do think that Heupel's trying to kind of focus on his stats a little bit and make sure he gets his numbers, Stephon Diggs style, as Josh Allen would say. And then I just think Tennessee's going to run the football and win running the football and with defense.
Yeah, I think that this offense is going to continue to be driven by Dylan Sampson. If you're trying to find a Heisman contender for this Vols team, Nico gets all the talk right now. Dylan would be that guy to me. I think he's got a good chance to get 20 plus. Yes, I think he gets 19 or more.
Ivans?
Ties it at 18. I think he ties it. No. Because here's 8 games ago, he needs 1 per game. Yeah, but you also got to think of some of the other options that are coming into play as well. This backfield's going to get healthier with Cam Selden. Last year, small. All right, well, there's going to be a mix. Everybody's going to be able to eat. It's going to be Thanksgiving for the rest of the season, all right?
Tyler says no thanks to the milk with the cookies. Just give me a glass of water.
Where are you at, Chuck?
I'm going to say yes, because I think Tennessee has enough with the passing attack to get in position to give him chances. And I think we've seen that Josh Heupel, that's his first option. We've seen Dylan Sampson be there when you get there. So, yeah, I think that's definitely in his reach.
All right, Nico Iamaleava has 7 touchdown passes. Will he throw for 22 or more on the season?
All right, 22 minus 7 is 15. How impressed are you right there?
That's a fair, good math.
So that's a little less than 2 per. I think he will get there. I do hold up a little bit. His legs could come into play in the red zone. We just talked about the run game and the importance there.
Right.
And what if they are a little more conservative? So I think it'll be close. But yes, I think he'll get there. I think he'll have a few games where he's unleashed.
2 a game.
Yeah.
Nico can do 2 a game.
Yeah.
Spot on.
I just hope the offensive line holds up, kind of like that to protect him. And there's other factors, but yeah, he can do that, definitely.
Yeah, I think he'll hit maybe even 30. The reason why is teams are going to stop putting 4 and 5 in the box and then running those DBs in the way that they're doing when they defend Tennessee right now. It didn't work for NC State. It didn't work for Oklahoma. I think the better coach teams aren't going to do that. I think, Nico will have to throw the ball to win, and I think the passing game will also improve off the bye week and as the season goes.
Can I take under 30 for something nice? Under 30, yeah.
Under 30.
Under 30.
He could get to 30.
Gas money for a week. Gas money for a week.
Yeah, we'll give you all the juice you need on that one, Chuck, no problem. All right, a couple more to go here. Let's see what else we have. Guys, will Tennessee hold Georgia under 20 points for the first time since 2009? That was 15 years ago, under 20 points.
Wow.
We're talking about a defense that believes it's elite. The Georgia game coming up in November. Tyler Ivans. Under 20 points for the
if
Georgia
Kentucky
Bulldogs.
can do it, Tennessee can do it. And I'm not trying to do the transitive property thing here about who they played. Oh, but the game's in Athens.
Right.
No, 21. No, 21.
I'm going to say yes, but there may be something going on with Carson Beck, guys. I mean, he was holding something like his shoulder, and they were using him late in the game. Tennessee, I think, can hang with them, but in Athens, Georgia can top that. I think that's pretty easy, the top 20.
Yeah, no, I don't think they will. Part of it is, will Mike Bobo actually coach the game like he's coaching in the 21st century? We saw last year, Auburn game, Georgia Tech game, first half against Ole Miss. He reverts back to old bad habits. Kentucky reverted back to old bad habits. He never does that against Tennessee. I think that Georgia will score more than 20 points. You want to get that last one, Ivans?
Yeah, to save time before the last one, I will just give a quick no to under 20.
Oh. Will Tennessee host a playoff game at Neyland Stadium? Can I lead off?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'll go second, yes, and it'll be December 20th or 21st.
No. I think they go 10-2, and they don't, and I think only 4 SEC teams get in.
I think they're in the 8-9 game. So
I like it.
I've been Mr. Positivity. I can't hedge off the positivity. So I will say yes, they are hosting in the 8-9 matchup in December.
Playoff fever.
Yeah, Tennessee, Penn State, Neyland Stadium, December 21st.
That could work.
Under the lights.
It's sexy.
All right. So Tyler Ivins brought down a little bit of positivity, but that's a good reset with 8 games to go for Tennessee. We balance each other out. It's an off week for Tennessee, but plenty of scouting to do when we come back. John, Kevin, and Ollie scout Tennessee. Stay right here.
For 4 generations, A.G. Heinz Company has been a pillar of the Knoxville community. And since Albert Heinz Sr. opened our doors back in 1920, we've been supplying do-it-yourselfers with revolutionary products and tools. With Nudura insulated concrete forms, your project will be both rock solid and more energy efficient than steel or wood structures. Cutting-edge materials and tools at affordable prices. That's what we've provided for more than a century at A.G. Heinz Company.
A day on the lake is more than just time on the water. It's a memory, a story that can last a lifetime. And no one makes memories like Madisonville Marine. Terrific prices, first-class customer service, and the area's biggest selection of boats like Skeeter bass boats. For more than 75 years, generations of anglers have trusted Skeeter, the best engineered boats on the water. Ensure a smooth, dry, safe trip to your favorite fishing hole. Madisonville Marine. There's no better place to buy a boat.
It's kickoff time in Tennessee.
Hey folks, it's Jake from Rusty Wallace Key of Knoxville, and it's time for you to score the biggest deals of the season. You can get in the end zone with up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. And as always, every new Kia comes with Rusty's exclusive 200,000-mile warranty. So draw up the winning play and hurry in today to get up to $10,000 over KBB value for your trade. Rusty Wallace Key of Knoxville, I-75 at Callahan Drive.
From family heirlooms to sports memorabilia, protect and showcase your treasures with custom frames and shadow boxes, each with a lifetime guarantee. Express Frame in the Common Shopping Center on North Peters Road.
Every Sunday morning, The Sports Source brings you 90 minutes of honest, intelligent Vols coverage. More analysts, more topics, more fun. The Sports Source, Sundays at 11 on WATE TV6 and WATE.com.
Welcome back to Rusty Wallace Key on Callahan Drive for the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. John Pennington, Ollie Lane, Kevin Simon right here. This segment brought to you by Chris Smith Insurance. Chris is my insurance guy. The reason I use him is he's kind of like double the agent. He's a farmer's agent. In other words, he gives you all the great farmer's plan, but he's also an independent agent too, meaning if you don't have a farmer's plan that meets what you want or you don't fit into their systems perfectly, he's got independent plans that can help you as well. He's got more ways to protect your family, your belongings, your house, your car. Chris Smith Insurance. Look him up this week. You'll be glad that you did. All right. This segment is called Who, How, and Why. Typically, it's our prediction segment. Well, we'll do that for the Arkansas game next week, so we'll wait on the predictions. But I do want to keep with that theory, that segment. And first, we'll do quick questions here. So let's do the who. Who, Kevin Simon, former NFL scout, former coach. Who does Tennessee need more from? You can name a player, you can name a position group. Who either needs to keep improving or needs to step it up, however you want to position it.
I know people they're tired of hearing me say it, but I just think the wide receiver core, just having a guy who can step up and be a dynamic playmaker in that group. Chris Brazzell has a skill set similar to Seth Tillman. You think about Seth Tillman in 2021, he catches for 200 yards on Georgia. Pretty good. Obviously, we all know Biletnikoff winner, Jalen Hyatt. We all know what he did. So who is that guy in this group? You know, that's still waiting for one of these guys to emerge. Squirrel White, where he at? You know what I'm saying? So we can create these explosive plays in the passing game, because the passing game's still not clicking quite like what Heupel is used to.
You're seeing some Dante Thornton is starting to pop up, but it's not consistent yet. And Brew McCoy, credit to him, he's really improved. His game has changed. I looked at him as a possession guy. He's come back from this injury. He looks like he's changed his body. He looks quicker and more explosive to me. But still not the consistency they're looking for in those big plays. Ollie, who needs to step it up?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at one position that's kind of holding us back as a whole, and it's not even like they're holding us back a ton, but I mean, you got to go to the offensive line. It's just they're proving themselves. They look good when they're all there. But I mean, if you look at anything it held us back in the Oklahoma game last week, for sure. I think everybody noticed that.
Injuries were part of it, but still.
For sure. But I mean, it just goes back to how much are we doing to get the guys ready for situations when their time gets called. And so I think that needs to be more important. It always needs to be important. It's an important aspect of them already. But what else can we do to make sure, like the Larry Johnsons and the other guys are ready when they take that opportunity on the field, and especially going against a top 15 team? That's a big time ask to have someone come in for their first real playing time.
All right, Coach, let's put it back in your lap then. How? There's your how. We did who, now we're doing how. How do you fix the offensive line? If you get everybody back healthy, and they're claiming you'll have them all back for Arkansas, said that last week. If they got everybody back, but you got to build that depth. How do they work around this offensive line moving forward if there are injuries? You got any solutions?
The house started in the winter.
Yeah.
It went through spring practice, and it went through summer, and it went through 2 days. So, Coach Ellaby's laid a foundation with these guys, understanding the scheme, how we got to get things, the nuances, the communication between how we're going to play certain blocks, or how we're going to handle certain schemes, or how we're going to trade off certain stunts. So the how has been brewing for some time now.
The how's in the barn.
The how is in the barn. So now, it's how are we going to deploy these pieces? The Dane Davises of the world, the Larry Johnsons of the world. Because guess what? Here's the thing. John Campbell Jr., he's missed a lot of time. Not being critical, it's just a fact. And it looks like he's going to continue to miss time. He has not played, I don't think he's played half of a game yet.
Yep.
So if Dane Davis is the next guy, then guess what? We all got to get used to seeing him. So I think for him, he'd tell you he'd like to have a couple plays back in that game. Hey, keep on trying to polish his shoulder. And then for a guy like Larry Johnson, while the run game looked pretty good, there's some pass protections that, he's going to want to polish up a little bit. And then who's the next guy? Because what if something happens to these two guys? It'll be interesting to see who's the next one that Ellaby has in the bullpen ready to come out and hopefully throw a shutout.
Okay, well, there you go. We've got just probably about 2 minutes here total. So everybody take 30 seconds to a minute on this question. This is the we did who, how, why. All right, why? We'll be positive. We'll give the fans, we'll throw them a bone. Why does Tennessee make the college football playoff?
It just seems like this defense, especially this defensive line, is so dominant. They're going to continue to wreak havoc on opposing offenses, and make things difficult. I think we're going to ride these guys as far as they're willing to take us. And Nico. Nico at some point, we're going to need him with his legs, with his arm to go be great. I think we're a contender, not just playoff picture, but I think we're a championship contender, which I couldn't have said, a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
No. All right, about a minute. Ollie, why?
Mean, just the determination and grit that I see from this team every time that they step on the field. I mean, I know the guys personally over there. I know their mindset, and I understand what they're trying to accomplish, and I can see them out there actively going after it every week. It seems like they just took the brake pedal and ripped it out of their car because, there's no brakes in sight. They keep pressing on that gas, pushing it, seeing how much they can really accomplish out there, and especially with how far this defense has come. I don't know. Everybody says defense wins championships, and I'm seeing it kind of prove itself right here, right now. So
good deal. Ollie Lane, VFL Kevin Simon. Thanks to both of you guys. We have so many people that take part in this show. You're not going to find another show in town that's got 15, 16 people every week. And I thank you for playing along in my sandbox here. And I thank you for coming back and watching us every single week, whether it's YouTube or whether it's WATE. You can watch us tomorrow. We'll be at 11 a.m. on Sunday, as we always are. We'll be there for the Sports Source. Join us then. And until then, have yourself a good rest of the week. We'll see you then.
The Sports Source Saturday Kickoff is presented by Rusty Wallace Kia of Knoxville on Callahan Drive and by the Garza Law Firm.